Hello and welcome to the Birds of the Round Table for yet another Victory Tuesday edition of the podcast. I am your host, Shane Haff. You can give me a follow on Twitter at Shane Haff NFL. Joined as always by the rest of the crew. I guess not as always. I think last week I was gone, but hopefully you guys enjoyed the Reese and Niche show. We got Ryan. Give him a follow on Twitter at Philly Sports PSA. Ryan, how are you doing tonight?
Doing well. It was a crazy game, a tale of two halves, and they did just enough. Good teams find a way to win, right?
Yeah, it was unfortunate that I had already used A Tale of Two Halves as a post-game show title for week one. I didn't feel like I could go back to that well, and so I had to get a little more creative. But yeah, it was a wild game for sure, and we are going to dive into it. Joined also by David. Give him a follow on Twitter at his new handle, David Neis, Neisz, PHL. David, bold decision, going with the last name that people have to spell out. I did the same thing. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I guess we're all cursed with that same phrase because I titled my paper "The Tale of Two Halves" as well. So yeah, I guess it's become too commonplace to do that. But yeah, it's great to talk about another win, no matter how they come. And I think the second half of that game gives us a lot to talk about and kind of foreshadows what the offense is capable of moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's dive into it. As always on this show, we're going to kind of give our top takeaways from last week's game before we turn to some top matchups to watch. And so, Ryan, I will throw it to you first. What was your top offensive takeaway from the Eagles' victory over the Rams?
This honestly might be the toughest question, not only so far, but I think, that we're probably going to have to answer this year. And it's hard to know where to start. The first half, outside of, one drive, which short field and basically Jalen Hurts kind of did everything there, running the ball. And then, you get a penalty as well. And, there's got to be some consistency. And I think that's kind of what the most frustrating parts is because, in the second half, Hurts and AJ were certainly on fire, and that was helping to, spark this offense. But I haven't rewatched the game. I was there live, so I kind of saw it from a little bit of a distance. But I would say the consistency of whether it be play calling or whether it be what Hurts is seeing. I don't know yet. I haven't dove into a rewatch yet, but. That's kind of what I'm more focused on because the first half looked literally like people who never played football in the world, trying to play calls or call plays. And second half, it looked like a little better, but it still wasn't there. So it's consistency and trying to figure out to best use this offense because you have the weapons.
Yeah, there's plenty of weapons on this offense, and it should not look like it did early. My fear is that the Eagles will just be like, well, Lane Johnson got hurt, and it took us a little while to find our footing and figure out Fred Johnson was the answer, which, by the way, was bizarre to me that you traded for Fred Johnson, who played right tackle for you last season and left tackle. He played them both, but he wasn't the first guy off the bench. That didn't make a lot of sense to me, and I thought they waited way too long to pull that plug. But, David, what was your top offensive takeaway?
The answer to that Fred Johnson question is Pryor had taken all the first team reps at right tackle, the second team reps during the summer and the week of practice. And Fred primarily did left tackle. So I guess they just went with the hand that they had been training to do it. And obviously they should not have. It blew up in their face. But I have two takeaways, one that's troublesome / negative, and the other one that's a little more optimistic. But the troublesome one is I think this team went into the season thinking they were going to be able to run the ball like they did last season. And I don't think it's been talked enough about that the O-line has not looked good this year. Nope. Lane Johnson being there or not, it has not looked good. Now, Dickerson might be hurt. He doesn't have, playing through something. He doesn't have the explosiveness, in the run game. He's given up interior pressure. I have been unimpressed with, the run blocking in general. Just the O-line has struggled. And I think, Shane, you posted something about how quickly people are getting their hands on Saquon as opposed to last year. And it's an insane difference. And I think it's been understated, just how much that offensive line has struggled, which then puts them in the position to have to pivot and go to a passing game that they really didn't want to have to go to early. So they don't. They keep pounding the rock and they keep trying. But on the plus side, when Smith and Brown, started working into the offense, they ended the day with 14 catches, 169 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's the kind of production that this offense can have on a regular basis, especially with Goddard back in the fold, who's, carrying coverage with them down the seam, down the middle. And it takes pressure off the outside. And I'm not worried about Jalen Hurts' 300-yard passing game stats, 4,000-yard season markers that other fan bases are obsessed with. He can put up 200 yards and a half, 3 touchdown passes and a half. So he can do all of those things. But I am concerned that the offense doesn't do it until they have to. And I don't like the fact that they're being dictated to instead of dictating. And I think that'll be a theme moving forward because I think Jalen Hurts, kind of mentioned that as well. And I believe, Patullo and the offensive game plan is going to have to be a little more aggressive. And again, I know they don't do preseason, and it's hard to argue with the results. They are a generally healthier team than almost anybody else in the league the past 4 years doing this kind of, scenario that they do where they, just kind of ramp up as the season goes. So those are my 2 biggest takeaways.
Yeah, I was looking for my stat thing I put out about Saquon since you missed. Here it is. So comparing last year to this year, his yards before contact per attempt is down from 2.4 to 1.2, so a cut in half. He's getting half the yards before contact per attempt. But also his yards after contact per attempt. So this is the part that's more him. That's also down from 3.32 to 2.1. And I mean, I think one of the biggest things is just how vanilla the run game is. Last year, the Eagles, 42% of Saquon's runs were gap scheme runs, which generally that's with a puller typically. This year, it's only 20%. Everything is just inside zone, outside zone, very vanilla, very bland. And that's on Stoutland. Like, people can talk about Patullo, and I think there's some definite issues there. But Stoutland coordinates the run game. He always has. It's not something Kellen Moore is good at. I said on podcasts last year that I liked the Kellen Moore hire because Stoutland was already there, and so Moore wouldn't handle the run game because I don't think it's something he's good at. It's not that Kellen Moore took the good run game with him. It's that a lot of it's on Stoutland, I think, has to do this better. And Landon Dickerson's been bad. Now, he is playing through an injury, and I think we're approaching the point that we have to have the conversation about whether you should sit him down for 3 or 4 weeks and get him healthy, because I respect a guy playing through pain, but he's hurting the team right now. And I don't know what the options look like at backup left guard. I mean, Brett Toth may look way worse. It's a balancing act. Do you deal with that to try to get him healthy? I don't know what the answers are there, but Dickerson's clearly hurt. Mailata just hasn't looked the same to me. And Juergens hasn't looked very good, but I don't think it's his fault because Juergens is an undersized center and they're not using him to his strengths, which is getting him out pulling on the perimeter. So I think Juergens hasn't looked as good, but I think it's because they're asking him to do things that he's just never going to be great at. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And so the run game needs a lot of help.
Unless Stoutland is doing those plays that you're describing because he's compensating for injuries along that line, which I really do believe is a large part of that issue.
Yeah. And so, those are some of the things that we just can't necessarily know for sure how that's going to play out. But the Eagles run game has been like a massive boost for them over the last few years. And it's just not getting it done right now. Their run block win rate ranks 22nd in the NFL. So you got to get to the pass game, and the pass game has got to be better. And I didn't think the pass game was necessarily better in the second half so much as AJ just went off outside the numbers, which, I mean, who knew when you throw the ball to AJ Brown one-on-one with guys, it's going to work out well. But I was glad to see that back. It was still really elementary, but that's good enough. Like, if teams are going to show you that, take it. And I thought A.J. Brown put a stamp on this game. And I mean, that's not to discredit Hurts, who put the ball right on him every single one of those times. And so those two have a special connection, and I would like to see more of that from the offense moving forward. Spread them out and push the ball downfield. So that's some thoughts on the offense, I guess. Let's flip it over to the defense. And David, I'll throw it to you first this time. What was your top defensive takeaway?
I mean, it's the play of the defensive tackles, the Jordan and Jalen combo there. I mean, Jordan obviously had the game, breaking play that everybody will see on highlights for the rest of their lives, but he was also playing well prior to that. I mean, he has been an interior force this season, and they're using him in a way that has really accentuated his strengths, in my opinion. Something that you didn't see, for the first few years. Some of that's due to the fact he's in the best shape of his life. I know that's cliche, but he actually is. And, and Jalen is not at the moment. And when those two get on the same page, like, as Jalen's just getting back into the type of shape he was last season, they are going to be just a nightmare. And someone messaged Georgia head coach Kirby Smart today and showing him the plays that Jordan and Jalen were making from the interior part of the game. And as weird as it is, the head coach for Georgia ended up having a Zoom call with Matt Stafford today too, who just praised how awesome Jordan and Jalen were, and basically how they just snatched the victory. He worded it like they stole it from them, and they knew that they needed to stop those two in the middle. That was their game plan to do, and they couldn't do it. And that says a lot when you have a future Hall of Fame quarterback praising two guys who haven't even been in the league that long yet. And it's just amazing what they're able to do. And I expect more and more of that to improve as the season goes by. And this is what the Eagles wanted when they invested 2 early first-round picks on 2 back-to-back defensive tackles.
All right. Ryan, what about you? What's your top defensive takeaway?
Yeah, I thought, obviously, the story is Jordan Davis, and just how, he's kind of showing exactly that potential that we all, thought we were getting, with the first rounder. And it was taking a little bit, to get there. And like you said, I think there was a noticeable difference coming into this season, how in shape he was. It's starting to really show in the field. He's been one of the best D tackles in the league this year through 3 games. So this was really great, again, to kind of see him get his, so to speak, not just in Philly, but, nationally. But I think there's a little concerns. I don't think Reed necessarily had a great game, but then again, I think a lot of the things that maybe it looked like was more his fault really necessarily wasn't.
He got picked on a lot. They targeted him a lot.
They did. So that has to tell you something. And I thought Q had a really good game. Yeah, obviously, when you're going up against one of the better duos in the league, you're going to be giving up, some yards. And I thought they did a decent job of holding. It was a lot of bend, don't break, a lot of field goals, which, we'll take field goals over touchdowns, especially if we're going to be able to block them. So, I thought the defense kind of did the best they could with the great Rams offense, considering everything. So,
if I can intervene, I think that's the story of the game. The Eagles are perfect start to the season in the red zone. They scored a touchdown every single time, and the Rams had to settle for field goals. Yeah. And at the end of the day, that's what did them in.
Yeah, the Eagles are still perfect from the red zone, right? I think this season.
Yeah.
So, I think my top defensive takeaway, I'll shout out Quinyon Mitchell, a guy that I said the first 2 weeks didn't play as well. And I love Q, but he was locked down last year, and I thought he struggled at times the first 2 weeks. I thought he played his best game of the year. I saw that he was on Devontae Adams in man coverage for 22 snaps in this game and was targeted 5 times and gave up 2 catches for 12 yards. So it was a good game from Q. It was nice to see that from him because he had a bit of a slow start. Not that he was bad, but he just wasn't playing like he was last year. So that was nice to see. And then run defense, I think there's a lot of concern about the run defense right now. You give up 160 yards rushing. to the Rams. They had a 58% success rate, rushing success rate. And, it's tough when you're giving up runs at that clip, especially on early downs, getting into third and manageable situations. There's third and short, second and short situations. And people have been asking what was up with the run defense. And I think it's just a little bit of everything, to be honest. Jalen Carter was getting pushed around. They did some weird stuff where there were some snaps. They had Jalen Carter as the nose tackle and Jordan Davis out as like a 3 or a 4 technique. And I wasn't sure why they were doing that. But I thought the defensive tackles got moved a little bit. The way that the Rams run their offense is just a cheat code. Like Puka Nacua is a better blocker than Dallas Goedert, who's one of the better run blocking tight ends. And so they can go in 11 personnel with Nacua, and they can motion him across formations and use him to seal edges. And they were doing that. And you can't just jump outside of him, as Cooper DeJean got blocked a lot in this game. But you can't just jump outside of him, because they do the thing where they release him through the C gap to run crossing routes, and then you're just toast. And so the way they're able to manipulate fronts gives them the edge a lot. And then Jahad Campbell, I talked about it in week 1. I think he's awesome in coverage. Overall, he is playing better than I expected. And I liked Jahad Campbell. I couldn't believe he fell to us in the draft. But he struggles in run defense. He's slow to trigger. It's like he doesn't trust his eyes. And so I think that kind of exacerbates that problem. And so there's a lot of those things. I mean, I expect Campbell to, start to trigger a little quicker. I expect Jalen Carter to not get pushed around as much. And certainly no other team in the NFL has a Puka Nacua to help you set the edge like that. And so I don't think the run D has been as good as it has last year. But the Rams are just a special case. They're always going to give you fits with the run game. So I think that's kind of my top defensive takeaway. So anything else you guys want to shout out before we do our player of the games?
One thing, riverboat gambler Nick Sirianni going forward on 4th and 7 from midfield right after the Eagles defense had just delivered a 4th down stop, felt kind of forced, borderline reckless. I don't know. I thought that was a crazy call at the time that could have cost them the game.
Yeah. For sure.
Are you on board with that, Ryan?
Listen, I'm a big fan of taking risks, but even I was like, ooh.
4th and 7's a bit much.
7 is a bit much. It's a little too much for my my riverboat gambling days.
Yeah, so the analytics said to go there, which surprised me. I didn't get to watch this game live, so watching it, and I wasn't looking anything up, I was like, what are you doing? And I was kind of surprised it was as strong as a go by analytics as it was. I just felt like at that point in the game, the defense has gotten a couple of stops. I would have tried to pin them deep, because especially you go for it from the 50 and you don't get it. They need 1 first down to be in field goal range, and they were. Right. And, fortunately, you blocked that field goal, right, or that would have cost you the game. And so, I would have not gone for it there. I thought that was but I was kind of surprised that the analytics supported that so strongly. It was by like 3%, I think. So that
and everything
kind of
everything had been going so great. Like, I mean, it was just a miraculous turnaround. It's like you didn't want to do something to kind of ruin the momentum.
Yeah.
I mean, at like 4th and 4, I'd probably go for that.
Sure.
Agreed.
Better.
Yeah.
Because then you can run that speed out route, all that stuff. But I didn't like the decision to go, and I certainly didn't like the play call. But
and especially when you have a punter who's kicking the ever living daylights out of the ball right now. Yeah, why not pin him deep and hope that you can get a short field for once, considering all of the special teams blunders.
Yeah. So got a comment here. The real question is, when do you think CJ is going to be back? I have a take on this, and it's never, because the Eagles clearly wanted him out of the building because they traded him for a guy that they cut. So
exactly. Well, they keep bringing him back. So
yeah. I think you're seeing why the Eagles didn't keep him, quite frankly. And I believe somebody posted somewhere that he had to have played 4 games with the Texans for the Eagles to even have a chance or something.
Yeah, I think I feel like there's a little bit of confusion with that.
Definitely with me. I don't know those rules.
I feel like I've read 2 different things. I've read that where you have to play a minimum of 4 games, but I also read that if you're subject to and put through waivers and clear waivers you then would be able to sign with any team regardless.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right, which does. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Either way.
Yeah, we'll never have to worry about it.
No.
Yeah. So
If
all
he
right.
could play corner.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into our player of the games briefly before we spin it forward. Ryan, I'll give it to you first. Who's your player of the game in this one?
I mean, obviously, it has to be Jordan Davis. He saves the game, not only with that block, but he was involved in the first block. And overall, I thought he just really had a very dominant game, and was a force there on defense.
All right. Yeah, I think that's the easy pick. David, you can't pick AJ Brown, so who do you have for player of the game?
I'll go with Jalen Hurts. When it mattered most, Hurts took the wheel down late, pieced together a 17-play, 91-yard march that drained the clock and broke the Rams' will. It opened up with that fearless 25-yard rope to AJ Brown. I think it was 3rd and 10. And it ended with a 4-yard dart to Devontae Smith for the lead with under 2 minutes left. The 2-point conversion failed, obviously, but Hurts had already authored the night's defining drive, and that's a very impressive 91-yard potential game-winning drive there.
Yeah. All right. Also a good selection. I'll go on to the defensive side of the ball, and I'll go with the guy that started the game off right with the interception. Give me Zach Bond. Gets the interception, sets the Eagles up with the short field, and he made a lot of good plays in this game. He did miss a tackle or two, but yeah, overall, I'll give it to Zach Bond.
He reads a quarterback's eyes better than any linebacker I've seen in a long while.
Yeah.
He really does.
Yeah, Adam's saying we could keep going up against Seth Joyner live on Tuesdays.
That's backwards. Seth keeps going up against us.
Yeah, we've just been on Tuesdays for a long time, so hopefully people come hang out with us live. If not, hopefully they enjoy the reruns. But David says it should be Jordan Davis by a landslide, hitting 18.9 miles per hour. I almost went Davis because they literally lose the game if he doesn't block that kick.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
All right, let's spin it forward to next weekend's matchup. The Eagles play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have had the Eagles number in previous years. We're going to go top matchups to watch, predictions. David, I'll give it to you first. What's your top matchup to watch when the Tampa Bay offense is on the field?
When the Tampa Bay offense is on the field. So the defensive take.
Switching it up on you here.
Yeah, what are you trying to make me do here? All right. So defensively, I'll start off. If you're old enough to remember the pickle juice game in Dallas back in 2000, this current pivot is not as drastic as that. However, the team does seem to believe that fatigue has been a big issue in their losses, and they are adjusting their routine and schedule and departing a day earlier this year to acclimate to the heat. And I think that is a big deal on a lot of aspects there, because it also shows how willing every person in that Eagles franchise is willing to exploit a nuance, and Jeffrey Lurie willing to spend the money to just get an advantage to increase their percentage of chance of winning by whatever they believe it to be. So I think the defensive matchups are going to be, a lot better than last year. For one reason, Mike Evans isn't there. Quinyon Mitchell was, all over him last year. I know everybody's seen the tape of Evans giving him a bunch of crap, but it was not really founded in reality, because Quinyon played him really well in that game last year. The matchup I want to see the most, and I hope we get to, is Quinyon versus Emeka Egbuka. He was my favorite receiver in the draft. The guy is going to be a stud in this league, and I'm curious to see if they can contain Baker Mayfield long enough so, he doesn't dance all around the field and continue drives and get the ball out like he usually does. But yeah, I'm most excited to see Egbuka versus Quinyon.
Your season, your shot. The NFL season is rolling, and every touchdown can bring you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. From first touchdown score to anytime touchdown props or the thrill of live in-game betting, every snap is loaded with opportunity. And this one is specifically for new customers who can bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Plus over $200 off of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code PINPULL. That's code PINPULL to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first $5 bet. Plus, over $200 off of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That is 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Fees may apply in Illinois. Void in Ontario. Bonus bet expires 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday Ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday Ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday Ticket/terms. Limited time offer.
A message from McAfee. Wondering why the post office is texting you or why you owe thousands of dollars in toll fees? Because someone's trying to scam you. The good news? McAfee can help. With McAfee's award-winning scam detection, it's easy to tell what's real and what's fake over text, in your inbox, and online. If they're
You want a free gift.
Seriously? If they're faking it, they're not making it past us. Get award-winning scam detection today. McAfee.com/keep-it-real.
This is a real good story about Bronx and his dad, Ryan. Real United Airlines customers.
We were returning home, and one of the flight attendants asked Bronx if he wanted to see the flight deck and meet Captain Andrew.
I got to sit in the driver's seat.
I grew up in an aviation family, and seeing Bronx kind of reminded me of myself when I was that age.
That's Andrew, a real United pilot.
These small interactions can shape a kid's future.
It felt like I was the captain.
Allowing my son to see the flight deck will stick with us forever.
That's how good leads the way.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. When you visit the doctor, you probably hand over your insurance, your ID, and contact details. It's just one of the many places that has your personal info. And if any of them accidentally expose it, you could be at risk for identity theft. LifeLock monitors millions of data points a second. If you become a victim, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
All right, Ibuka versus Quignon should be a great one. Ryan, what's your top matchup to watch?
Yeah, I think obviously David took the fun one, but I'm gonna go with Bucky Irving versus the run defense. Obviously, Kyren Williams kind of ran all over them. I know that defense is a proud defense, and they're not going to want to give that up again. And Bucky's a great young running back in this league, and certainly they need to do what they can to kind of tighten up that run defense. So it'll be a challenge for sure.
Right. I had a comment here from Adam asking about news on Lane Johnson's stinger. Last I saw it was not expected for that to be an issue headed into this weekend, so he should be good to go. All right, I will go, speaking of offensive line injuries, I'm going to go with the Eagles pass rush or run defense, really just their defensive front against this Bucs front. So Tristan Wirfs, fantastic left tackle. He's questionable for this game. Cody Mock and Luke Goedeke are both on IR. And so you are potentially coming into this game with 3 backup offensive linemen. If you're the Buccaneers, the Eagles front has to demolish them. If they're playing only 2 starters, I mean, we saw how bad the Eagles O-line looked with a banged up left guard and a backup right tackle. Imagine 3 backups or 2 backups and a banged up guy. The Eagles need to dominate this game in the trenches. Bucky Irving should have nowhere to run. Baker Mayfield should have no time to throw. And I mean, you would layer on top of that, Mike Evans is probably out. Chris Godwin is still questionable to play. This is a very depleted Tampa Bay offense. I would love to see a dominant performance from the defense. And I really think that is within the realm of possibility. So I want to see them dominate up front. So let's flip it over on the other side. Let's go Eagles offense against the Tampa Bay defense. Ryan, what are you watching for there?
Yeah, we've certainly mentioned this quite a bit, and it's really the Eagles' run game that is most concerning. Not only is as you said, he's not getting deeper before he starts getting attacked, and honestly, he's been I've been noticing Saquon's been kind of running into the back of his offensive lineman. So something's not jiving, and they need to figure it out. Whatever that is, whatever, is going on, they need to figure out something, because if this offense is ever going to start becoming even remotely close to the offense that we saw towards the end of last year, it all starts with that running game, and it needs to get fixed before we fix anything else. So I hope that they realize that as well, and that is their concern moving forward until they can get that fully fixed. So Saquon Barkley versus the Tampa Bay run defense.
All right. David, what's your top matchup to watch?
The passing game. I mean, we all know Todd Bowles has been Jalen Hurts' kryptonite since he's been in the league. They use exotic blitz packages. They don't show coverage until the last second. It confused Jalen at the beginning of his career. I think we all remember when the Buccaneer defensive players were caught on tape basically suggesting he can't read a defense, blah, blah, blah. Well, I think that changes in this game, and last year was not a fair barometer because Shane mentioned that the Bucs have a depleted offense this year, which is exactly what the Eagles were last year when they were without Smitty and AJ in that game. So this is going to be a much different look. And so I'm excited to see what they can do at full strength. I don't think we've really had that matchup. Even a playoff game a couple years ago, AJ Brown didn't play in that one either, in the 2023 season loss when they lost in the wild card. So this is the first look that you're going to see in a few years, of their team healthy. And the last time they were healthy, the Eagles beat them down there on I think it was a Monday night game back when DeAndre Swift was the running back. The Eagles won that game, Jalen Carter's rookie season. So, and also side note, Bowles is one of the only head coaches who actually welcomes the tush push. So I'm looking forward to that little battle as well. He loves stopping it. He loves playing against it. He's looking forward to defending it. So it should be interesting.
Yeah. It's going to be really interesting to see the blitz, because I thought Hurts looked good against the blitz against the Chiefs. Obviously, small sample size, numbers get tainted really easily, and he just got destroyed when the Eagles lost their mind and forgot how to pass protect when Lane Johnson went out. So his season numbers look pretty bad right now, but I thought he has looked pretty good against the blitz. And seeing how they're going to attack the blitz, seeing how Bowles chooses to go after it. But you stole my thing, because it's the tush push, right? The tush push against Desmond Watson. So I don't know if you guys have followed this, but a guy from Florida, Desmond Watson, 6'6", 460 pounds, came out in the draft, and the Buccaneers just signed him. So they're going to put him right over the center. They're going to see if they can stop the tush push. I'm going to be really interested to see how that plays out, because Bowles is the only guy that's really stopped it. I mean, They had him pushing Vita Vea previously. We'll see how that plays out. I think that's going to be really interesting. But that's kind of my tongue-in-cheek answer. My serious answer is just seeing what the passing attack can do against the blitz, because weirdly, I feel like they've been better against the blitz than they have when not blitz this year at times. And I know the numbers don't bear that out, and they've had some big plays and things, but the offenses just seem to have answers to the blitz when often they don't have answers to coverage. And so I think hopefully they can stay away from third and longs. If you can run into the teeth of those blitz, it helps at times. But overall, I feel like Hurts is up to that challenge. So big thing for the running backs to be able to pass block. There were some shoddy reps of that in week 3. So need to see that cleaned up for sure. So that's my matchup. Let's get into our score predictions, our player of the games. David, I'll throw it back to you first. Who do you have winning this game? What's the score, and who is your player of the game?
I promise I'm not being a homer, but I do have the Eagles winning this game. I do think that they, just are a better team right now. They're healthier, and like we just pounded on, the Bucs are hurting. They're not at full strength, and quite frankly, I just think if the Eagles and the Bucs are both at full strength, the Eagles are still a better team. So I'm going 26-17 Eagles. Last week, I went with A.J. Brown as player of the game. I'm doing that again. I think you might see him start another run of consecutive 100-yard games like he did a couple seasons ago when what did he get, like 5 in a row? Something like that, 5 100-yard games in a row.
Yeah, something like that.
I think there's that type of run in him again. And I think the training wheels came off of the Eagles passing game in the second half of that game. last week, and they showed what they could do. I think Petullo may have learned a lesson that you can have turnovers even playing conservative. When they came out the first drive of the second half, turned the ball over, gave up an immediate touchdown, you had to take the training wheels off and start attacking. And when they did that, it was effective. And, instead of playing scared, and I know they're boring, way to win games is just to kind of slug through things, let the defense do its thing and play risk-free, turnover-free football. And they're 19-1 in the last 20 games doing that. So it's hard to argue. But, there comes a time when everybody's going to start stacking the box. As we've indicated, Saquon isn't as effective, and you got to sling it. So that's what I hope to see in this game.
Yeah, it was a 6-game streak of 100 yards, actually more than 125 yards for 6 straight games.
Wow.
And that kicked off in a week 3 matchup in 2023 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So
all right,
maybe we'll see history repeat itself there. He got the 100 yards in week 3. Now week 4 is Tampa. We'll see how that plays out. Ryan, score prediction, player of the game. What do you got?
Yeah, I think this is going to be another close one. Even though the Bucs are a little banged up, I'm going to go 24-21 Eagles. I still think that, as David said, they're certainly the better team. They're still trying to figure themselves out and how it's going to look in 2025. But, again, I think they're making the right, calls, the precautions to get down there a little bit early, get themselves a little bit more used to the weather. It's going to be another hot weekend for them. So, yeah, I like another close game, but Eagles find a way to win.
They're predicting 103 field temperature at the start of that one.
Unbelievable. And I'm going to go player of the game. I'm going to go Dallas Goedert.
All right. Yeah, 103 is, I'm pretty sure, the temperature in my office right now. This is absurd, but I'm going to go with, I think the Eagles offense could struggle, but I think it's going to be a real slog for Tampa Bay's offense to do much. So I think you could get some short fields. I think you could get, some element of some repeated 3-and-outs that are wearing out the Tampa defense. So I'll say the Eagles win 24-10, and I'm going to go with Jalen Carter for player of the game. I think he's going to get some advantageous matchups. I think he's heard a lot of the noise. I think he'll come out and play a really good game, get a couple of sacks or something. So I'll take Jalen Carter for my player of the game.
He has 60 family members literally come to every one of these games in Tampa because he's, lived right down the street. So that's a great one to pick because he definitely shows up for those games.
There you go. Playing in front of all of his family. I didn't know that, but I'll take it. Works in my favor. So there you have it, guys. That's going to about do it for this episode. Thank you guys for joining us. Those of you that picked us over Seth, we really appreciate you. The rest of you listening later, we appreciate you too. Just not as much, maybe. We love you guys too. Hopefully you come hang out with us on a Tuesday night. Come hang out with us on postgame on Sunday. I'm on postgame this week. I don't remember who else is on postgame. Are you guys on postgame this week?
Maybe me.
It's me and Johnny. I can't remember who the third is. But anyways.
It might be me.
It might be. Come hang out with us on postgame. We got lots of content coming your way this week on the Eagles Pinpool Network. But we'll throw it around the horn here for final thoughts and plugs. Ryan, you're up first, man. Tell the people where they can find you. Anything you want to plug.
Yeah, you can find me at Philly Sports PSA. I, unlike David, have no plans to change my X handle.
He's going to be Ryan Reese PHL next week.
But yeah, honestly, you can follow me everywhere on there or on the Eagles Pinpool Network. Got some changes coming up to a few shows that you're used to, so we'll be breaking those out soon enough. But otherwise, you can see me here definitely every single Tuesday for Birds of the Round Table.
All right. David, what about you, man? Tell the people where they can find you. Spell your last name for them and tell them what you got going on.
It's David Neese, PHL, Neis, niece like Reese, like niece like nephew. But I have a piece coming out tomorrow that A.J. Brown was kind enough to discuss with me about his challenges in regards to mental health issues. So it's probably one of the more impactful things I've ever got from a player of his, especially of his magnitude. I think it'll be worth your time reading it. You can check it out at Philly Sports Network tomorrow. I don't know what time it's dropping, maybe 10 a.m. But it definitely discusses, a little bit about the struggles that he went through a few years ago, which was, I think, the year right before he came to Philly. So, even at the game this week, he wore a shirt like "Check on your teammates," and then the patch said, "I'm still standing, I'm still here." He always brings mental awareness to the forefront, and I think that's a defining character about him, because it's not easy in a room full of alpha football player men to kind of make yourself vulnerable like that.
Sure.
Yeah. I do appreciate Devontae Smith checking on him when they were trying to put peroxide on his cut on his foot. I don't know if you guys saw that video on Twitter, but if not, go look that one up. That was hilarious. But yeah, lots of stuff coming your way on the Eagles Pinpool Network. A lot more stuff in my Patreon if you want some more in-depth stuff. I did a player spotlight on A.J. Brown, watching every snap he was on the field and kind of talking through what I saw from him. My past game review will be dropping sometime tomorrow. Johnny and I's film show is live. Johnny will have a preview coming out later this week. So lots of good stuff in the Patreon, patreon.com/ontheshane page. You can grab a free 1-week trial of any tier and check that stuff out. Lots of stuff in the public feed as well. Eagles Pinpool Network, wherever you stream your podcast, 5-star ratings and reviews are greatly appreciated. But that's going to about do it for this one. Follow these guys on Twitter. Ryan is at Philly Sports PSA. David is at David Neese PHL. Got that right. I am at Shane Half NFL, and we will catch you guys next time.